What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Primetime Sports Podcast, hosted by Joey Mailari. Here I am, postgame for the New York Giants. They got a win tonight, 31-24 over the Minnesota Vikings in the wild card round. An elite win. I'm going to do a postgame reaction with Paul from Southie. We did our preview before the game. Paul had the Giants winning the game 27-24. I had the Giants winning 31-27. Final score, New York Giants 31, Minnesota Vikings 24. As you can tell from our reaction right now, you can hear him in just a second. We are fired up. We're psyched. Considering this was the Giants' first playoff win since that 2012 Super Bowl run. It was 3,997 days since the last time the Giants won a playoff game, and it was that Super Bowl game against the Patriots, Super Bowl 46. That was the last time the New York Giants won a playoff game. 3,997 days to now it took for the Giants to win another playoff game. They won playoff run in 2016, didn't get a win in that run. This is their first appearance in the playoffs since that 2016 playoff team that lost in Green Bay in the first round. But 3,997 days since the last time the Giants had a playoff win. The Giants now are red hot, going to play Philadelphia next week at Philadelphia. Mind you, this Giants team, similar to that Giants team that won that Super Bowl in 2012 and 2008. Both teams could go on the road and win. The Giants have won 6 of their last 7 road playoff games. 6 of their last 7 road playoff games dating back to their last 2 Super Bowl runs. Considering their one in 2016 was a loss, that's their only loss in the last 2 Super Bowl runs. So, very impressive run for the Giants. And considering where we are right now, and we're building while winning, it's just immaculate. There's no other way to put it. Paul, what was your reaction in the game? We're obviously going to get into Daniel Jones and break everything down, but what was your thoughts on the game, post-game reaction? Anything you want to say?
Well, we're extremely excited. And in big games like this, your superstars got to really step up. And, boy, did they answer the call tonight. Daniel Jones set some kind of record of passing yards and rushing yards. Saquon Barkley, the first time they get the ball, his first playoffs game ever, and he runs 30 yards for a touchdown, I think, like the second time he touches the ball.
28-yard touchdown run, yep.
I mean, we couldn't ask for more. Their offense almost looked unstoppable tonight. I mean, Jones had time for like 90% of his dropbacks. He was on target for almost every pass. And if Slayton catches that ball with like 3.5 minutes to go, the game would have been over then. But I just want to make it clear that Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, so worthy of the draft status when Gettleman...
Second and 6th overall.
And how does that look now? Gettleman put this team together, and his draft picks were solid. All the way down to McKinney and Julian Love.
Dexter Lawrence.
Andrew Thomas. I mean, they all produced in the biggest game of their careers tonight.
Gary Brightwell.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of pieces from that Dave Gettleman era that ended up working out. Obviously, missed on the offensive line and missed on some free agents. But at the end of the day, part of being a general manager is taking a swing, and you're not going to make every single swing be a home run. That's just a reality situation. And you look at that Giants team now, the biggest problem with the Giants heading into this season was they didn't have any cap space, so there wasn't really much room to maneuver with the team they had. So they really had to run back to the team that Gettleman had last year. And this team became a 9-win team in the regular season, and they won their wild card game as an underdog on the road at Minnesota to a team that beat them on Christmas Eve 27-24. And if you look at it, the Giants are rebuilding while winning. And the one thing they could point to that's obviously been a big upgrade for the Giants from the team they had last year to this year is coaching. And I know Dave Gettleman, the general manager of a team, typically finds the coaching. It's usually on them to find who the head coach is going to be. So I do blame Dave Gettleman for not finding the right head coach. Pat Shermer obviously didn't work out, neither did Joe Judge. But imagine Dave Gettleman with this team, maybe with the proper head coach. I mean, who knows? It could have been here a few years ago. But obviously Dave Gettleman missed on some free agents as well. Not going to say Dave Gettleman was 100 for 100, but find me an executive that is 100 for 100. Not many are. No. But what were you going to say?
It doesn't exist. Nobody's perfect, but a couple things I want to point out is that Minnesota was 11-0 this year in one-score games. So I was a little nervous about that, even when it was late and we had a slight lead. But more significant to me was the fact that the referees hardly called a penalty on Minnesota until the fourth quarter. So the Giants had to overcome Thibodeau being held on almost every replay. You saw the rush by the Giants,
including a touchdown pass.
Thibodeau was held. He was mauled. He was grabbed, held, and they never threw a holding penalty on them. I couldn't believe it.
Yes, yeah, you're right. It was in the second or third quarter, was it? Was it the second quarter, a touchdown pass from KJ Osborne to Kirk Cousins? Is that when he got tackled? It was in the first half, I believe.
He was tackled once and held on seemingly every replay they showed when they showed Cousins on a drop back. I mean, that was getting very annoying. What did we have, one sack maybe?
Giants had a couple sacks, I believe. Let me see. Make sure we get this right. We did have a sack, or a near sack, by Dexter Lawrence. Gets called for an abysmal roughing the passer penalty. Gave the Vikings 15 yards on their last drive.
Terrible call on that pass.
Roughing
the pass. A terrible call.
You might as well make it flag football if you can't even touch the quarterback. Make it flag football. How is that a rough of the passer?
He let him go on a whip. He could have whipped him to the ground. Then I could have seen the flag. But he let up. Halfway through the whip to the ground, he let up.
The Giants finished the game with no sacks, but tackles for a loss behind the line of scrimmage. I don't know if those were just miscounted. Yes, 5 tackles for a loss, which is impressive. 11 quarterback hits. The Vikings only had 4 quarterback hits. They had 3 sacks, though. Just 4 quarterback hits and 5 tackles for a loss. The Giants had 11 quarterback hits. So they just weren't getting home for the sacks, but they had some big hits, obviously, on Kirk Cousins and ring him up a few times on some cornerback blitzes. But for the Giants overall, Daniel Jones, we'll just start with him. He was a leading passer in the game and the leading rusher in the game. 17 carries for 78 yards in a long of 15, 4.6 yards per carry. And you look at his passing stats, 24 of 35, 8.6 yards per attempt per completion, 301 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and a 114.1 passer rating.
No turnovers.
And no turnovers. And he got hit hard a ton because he didn't want to slide. Every single one of those runs, 17 carries, he never went out of bounds. He never slid. Only a couple times he slid or went out of bounds. I'd say 4 of those 17 carries, he gave himself up. He was trying to fight for extra yards and even had a touchdown that was taken back.
That's right.
On the goal line, was it?
Yeah, I think it was on the goal line. But they had several.
And what was that penalty? I forget.
2 guys moved at the same time.
Yes, illegal procedure, yes.
Bellinger came across 2.
Illegal motion by the Giants. They had 2 guys in motion with not one. One of those guys has to be set, and the Giants end up having to kick a field goal on that drive. Daniel Jones is deprived of a touchdown run on that drive.
I like the fact that they're calling plays just for him to run. They did that several times today. I mean, scrambling's one thing, and he's so dangerous. But the fact that they're calling like bootlegs for him, especially on third down, he has a very high conversion of third down plays when he runs the ball.
And if you look at it, like you said before, Daniel Jones was the first quarterback to do something. I'm going to tell you what it was. Daniel Jones is the first quarterback, and this is according to NFL Research on Twitter. Daniel Jones is now the first quarterback in NFL postseason history with 300 passing yards, 2+ passing touchdowns, and 70+ rushing yards in a single playoff game.
Amazing.
He also became the 5th quarterback in the Super Bowl era with 200 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 70 rush yards. So look at that. That's 100 less passing yards. And there's the difference. There's 5 quarterbacks that did it with 100 less passing yards. He becomes the first to do it with 300+ passing yards, which shows how impressive it is. And then also, Daniel Jones joined Lamar Jackson, who did it in 2019, and Steve Young, who did it in the 1995 playoff season, as the only players to have 300 passing yards and 70 rushing yards in a single playoff game in NFL postseason history. 300 passing yards and 70 rushing yards, one of 3 quarterbacks, Steve Young and Lamar Jackson, to do that. In the history of the playoffs in the NFL, Daniel Jones had the biggest game and the biggest moment of his career, and these 2 people, maybe 3, my uncle included, that supported Daniel Jones through the thick and thin. It starts right here with Paul from Southie. He was the first one that convinced me Daniel Jones is the answer. And you were right. I
thought from day one, I mean, I know he had a very impressive rookie year, but he had all the tools. He had the arm, he had the wheels, and he had the head. He could throw the touch pass. He could throw the deep ball.
Best deep passer in the NFL in 2020, mind you. The best passer rating in the NFL with deep passes in the 2020 season.
And if you think about his the talent around him, I mean, until we got Saquon, I don't remember who his best running back was, And then the offensive line was in rebuild mode.
Saquon we got 2018. Yeah. But Daniel Jones' best player besides Saquon over his career, probably Darius Slayton, Golden Tate.
He went through so many coaches and so many offensive coordinators. It was hard to get in a certain rhythm for success.
And mind you, Saquon Barkley was always hurt. He was always hurt heading into this year. Daniel Jones and Saquon both played 16 of 17 regular season games this year. And they sat out that Week 18 game against the Eagles. They were healthy the entire season. And you see Saquon today at an elite game. Only 9 carries, but 53 yards, 5.9 yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns, and a 28-yard rushing touchdown on the first touch of his postseason career. It's an NFL postseason debut for Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. 2 of the most, I would say, probably disrespected, attacked NFL draft picks of the last 5 to 10 years.
Even the media went after us for taking those 2 picks that high.
The most criticized draft picks in the NFL over the last 5 years were Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones, his 5th-year option isn't picked up heading into this year. Oh, the Giants have no trust and confidence in Daniel Jones. No trust in him. Well, you know what Daniel Jones needed? He needed some time to pass the ball and some confidence in the head coaching position. And the offensive coordinator, the play call, had to be somewhat competent, know what's going on. Obviously, the Giants didn't have that in years past. We'd have 3rd and 8 with Jason Garrett calling curl routes of 4 yards when the guy wasn't even at the sticks. Like that last pass by Kirk Cousins to T.J. Hawkinson. You need 11 yards on that last play, right? Or 10 yards. And you're throwing, or 8 yards, it was 4th and 8. And you're throwing a pass 4 yards downfield. You need to get the guy to the sticks.
And McKinney wrapped him up.
And Xavier McKinney wrapped him up, had a huge game. And there's one guy I want to mention here. Cordell Flott comes in on 3rd down, 3rd and 8. First snap of the game for him on defense, I believe, if I remember reading right. First snap of the game for Cordell Flott on defense. Comes off the bench, and there's a 15-yard pass downfield, so I believe it was KJ Osborne. Gets his hands in, breaks it up, and it's 4th and 8, and the Giants end up winning the game on the next play with Xavier McKinney wrapping up T.J. Hawkinson, who is a pest the whole game for the Giants. 10 catches, 129 yards. Did not score a touchdown this game, but he was a pest for the Giants to stop. One guy the Giants did stop, Justin Jefferson.
Adoree Jackson wrapped him up. He had a great first drive, but I think his final numbers were like 6 catches for like 50 yards.
7 for 47, 6.7 yards a catch with 10 as his long reception. 10 was his long reception. He didn't beat you on a 30-yard pass.
AJ shut him down.
And that's why I got on. I got my Adoree Jackson shirt on today. You got Daniel Jones on. Both of us repping 2 of the best players on the Giants team today. Adoree, 7 total tackles and 6 solo tackles. He loves tackling on the outside. You have to do that in today's day in the NFL. But considering how good the Giants played in the regular season, they had the momentum coming into this game, but they were still underdogs. They were still an underdog pick. And you look at this team, now they're going into Philadelphia, who they, as we broke down earlier, they were in the game with Philadelphia last week with 2nd and 3rd string players. The Giants were in the game last week against Philadelphia with 2nd and 3rd string players. And now they're going into Philadelphia, a team that only lost to by 6 points, with Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, Adoree Jackson, Julian Love, Xavier McKinney, Andrew Thomas, Isaiah Hodgins, Richie James, Darius Slayton, all of those guys playing. And Darius Slayton, he dropped a big first down, potential first down catch with about 3 minutes to go, and it gave Minnesota the ball back. But Darius Slayton, I'm fine with the way you played today. 4 catches, 88 yards, 22 yards a catch, and had a great game.
Big play day. Except for that drop, he played almost a perfect game.
And Isaiah Hodgins, 8 catches, 105 yards, and touchdown in 9 receptions. Daniel Jones loves throwing them. Once again, the leading targets for the Giants was Isaiah Hodgins with 9. 6'4" receiver, big guy, 8 catches, 105 yards with a touchdown and a long of 32. Saquon Barkley, 5 catches, 56 yards. Richie James, 4 for 31. I thought he probably had more catches than that. It felt like he had a bigger game than he did. He did have a good punt return. I believe it was about a 9-yard return. Yes, he had a long of 10 on a punt return. A 7-yard punt return, a 9-yard punt return. 10 and 7 he had. So 17 yards on 2 returns for Richie James. And you look at it all around. I mean, this was a collective effort. And like you said, Kayvon Thibodeau finished with just 3 tackles and 1 quarterback hit. He was held every single play.
How did they miss that? There's 2 refs in the backfield. Every replay they showed, slow motion, he was wrapped up, grabbed and wrapped up.
And tackled.
I don't know how he missed those. I can see him missing 1 or 2, but how do you miss them all? No holding calls.
I'm just going to run over Daniel's stats one more time to let you hear them. 24-35 passing, 301 yards and 2 touchdowns with a 114.1 passer rating, 17 carries of 78 yards, and a long of 15 on his runs with 4.6 yards per carry. Daniel Jones was elite. Elite today in this game. Elite game for Daniel Jones. And he finished this game needing a score in the fourth quarter. The Giants need to score. The Giants need to score in the fourth quarter. And they got that. Daniel Jones got just that in the fourth quarter, getting a 2-yard touchdown run from Saquon Barkley on a 12-play, 75-yard drive, 4 minutes and 47 seconds. The Giants were leading at halftime 17-14. They were up 17-7, but Minnesota got a touchdown from KJ Osborne with just about 45 seconds to go in the half, making it 17-14. But the Giants battled. It was 24-24 after Greg Joseph had a 38-yard field goal with 12 minutes and 34 seconds to go. And the Giants went on a 12-play, 75-yard drive, 4 minutes and 47 seconds, and then held on to the ball in the end of the game. And obviously give Minnesota the ball back after Darius Slayton dropped the ball, but they didn't have time on that, so Minnesota didn't have time to come back and get the ball.
How many total yards did we have? Because we seem to have every drive was like 75 yards plus.
431 yards total on offense for the Giants today to Minnesota's 332. 99 more yards than them. 99 more yards.
Very impressive. Our offense never looked better than today. I mean, if you give Jones time, I said it all year, he's going to beat you either with his arm or with his legs.
7.6 yards per pass for the Giants. Daniel Jones sacked 3 times. Minnesota didn't give up a sack at all. But the Giants had pressure on Cousins.
They definitely were able to rattle Cousins. He didn't throw many terrible passes, so I'll give him credit. He hung in there. A sack would have been good at certain times of that game. But
The Giants on third down, 7 of 13 and 2 of 2 on fourth down. 2 of 2 on fourth down. Yeah. And you know what Minnesota was on third down? 4 of 10. 4 of 10.
That's where they won the game, on third down conversions. And Jones, he probably ran for 2 or 3 of them easy.
11 rushing first downs for New York today. 15 passing first downs for the Giants. 11 rushing first downs for the Giants. Minnesota only had 3 rushing first downs. The Giants had 11.
Wow, impressive.
And Minnesota, on their first drive of the game, second drive of the game, they do that reverse 3rd and 1 double pass. Or was Jefferson in motion, gets the ball in a reverse, and then throws it back to Kirk Cousins?
And they were all over Cousins waiting for him.
I don't know what that play call was, but
it was risky. It didn't work.
What a game for the Giants, though. What a game. Daniel Jones. Just think about the amount of videos on YouTube. You could look up Daniel Jones, busted draft pick, and ESPN. There's a million videos of them talking about him.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were only a couple of people that said, just give him time and he'll burn you since his rookie year. Remember, he had a tremendous rookie year.
24 passing touchdowns in 12 games. Same amount of passing touchdowns as Brady that season. And Brady played 16 games.
Yeah, I think he was in the top 3 for offensive rookies of the year.
He was. It was top 2. Kyler Murray won it just because he was the first pick. He had more passing touchdowns than Kyler Murray in less games.
Who won it? Yeah, who won it?
And who's the better quarterback now?
And a very big stat about Jones is his turnovers have gone down, I think, every year.
It has. Every single year. He was actually the lowest interception percentage in the NFL this year. Lowest.
He doesn't fumble. He hasn't fumbled in, maybe one fumble in the last 3 or 4 games?
Yeah, 2 fumbles total on the season. Yeah, 0 turnovers for the Giants today, too. I mean, neither team turned the ball over, but for the Giants, 0 turnovers. And they also led time of possession, 33 minutes and 36 seconds to Minnesota's 26 minutes and 24 seconds.
We had to keep their offense off the field. I mean, remember the first drive with Justin Jefferson? He ate us up. 6 catches might have been all on the first drive, and then we locked them up. So the offense had to have sustained drives to keep Minnesota's offense off the field, and they did. I think they had a couple of drives that were 8 minutes.
Yeah. The Giants definitely locked in and played great defense. That's what you needed, honestly. They needed that. And they got just that on defense. Guys stepping up, making big plays. Cordell Flott playing just 1 snap, gets in the game, breaks up a pass. Dane Belton making a great tackle on the sidelines. I believe it was on 2nd down of that drive. Let me make sure here. Want to make sure I get that right. Dane Belton, yes. Tackled Dalvin Cook out of bounds, 2-yard gain. Then the 2-minute warning. Kirk Cousins, pass incomplete to KJ Osborne. Cordell Flott gets his hand in there on a pass breakup. And then 4th down, Kirk Cousins to TJ Hawkinson. And Xavier McKinney wraps him up. Giants get the win. Unreal. And then they obviously get to nail the ball 3 times at the end of the game to call it. Giants win 31-24. What a win.
So let's look at the Philadelphia game next week.
Giants going to Philadelphia, where I just said they played last week, and they gave them a game with Davis Webb and Kenny Golladay and Gary Brightwell being your leading wide receiver, running back, and quarterback. Lawrence Cage was a great tight end in that game. Cage actually had a catch in today's game as well. Got some snaps. Jared Davis, one guy I mentioned that's going to earn himself some snaps. He did. Jared Davis played a good amount in today's game. I'm going to give you his final box score here. Tell you what he did in the game. Jared Davis finished with 2 tackles, also added a quarterback hit. So not a bad game. Leonard Williams was disruptive. 4 tackles, 2 solo tackles in that, and a pass defended with 2 quarterback hits. Dexter Lawrence, 6 total tackles, 2 solo, and a tackle for loss with 4 quarterback hits.
Yeah, he was
4 quarterback hits.
He clogged that lineup seemingly every time they try to run the ball. He was in the middle of it.
And that's another Dave Gettleman pick. And here's the thing, I know Dave Gettleman missed on the free agency a lot of the time. I know he missed in the offensive line, neglected it. I know that. And I know he missed, obviously, in the draft with DeAndre Baker and missed with a couple picks. But most of his draft picks were heavily criticized draft picks, and look at them now. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Dexter Lawrence, Andrew Thomas. 4 picks that were all reaches.
Impact players.
Saquon Barkley at 2, Daniel Jones at 6, Dexter Lawrence at 17 even. In 2019 was a reach, they said. Andrew Thomas at 4th overall was considered the 4th offensive tackle in the draft. We took him 4th overall and took him as the first tackle, and we get the win.
How many quarterbacks would you take over Daniel Jones now?
I'll name you 3. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence if I'm building for the future right now. I would take Daniel Jones over Justin Herbert. I said this yesterday with the sports guru, Mike Hurley. I recorded an episode with him yesterday, and I've said on my radio show for years, Daniel Jones is my boy. He's your boy. We've been the biggest fans of him. I would take Daniel Jones over Justin Herbert. I don't care about saying that. I'd say this live here. I'd say it to anyone in person. I don't care if this is on the internet forever. I would take Daniel Jones over Justin Herbert, and I would take Daniel Jones pretty close with Josh Allen. I know Josh Allen has the offensive production and the numbers. I get it. Josh Allen you'd probably take just based off his production. But Daniel Jones has better decision-making this year than Josh Allen. Josh Allen did have 3 turnovers today, 2 interceptions, and 1 lost fumble, 3 total fumbles. So nearly 5 turnovers in the game today. 3 fumbles with 1 of them being lost and 2 interceptions. Daniel Jones today played the best game of his career in the biggest moment. Biggest game of Daniel Jones' career, and he showed up. I'll name them again. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, and maybe Josh Allen. But I would still take Daniel Jones over Josh Allen because I love Daniel Jones more.
No one else is even close. Maybe Lamar Jackson when he's healthy, but no one else is even close.
And Lamar Jackson's always hurt. Daniel Jones has been healthy this year.
Yeah.
I know Daniel Jones had his injuries before this season, but he was healthy this entire season. And today, Daniel Jones had no fear in those runs. Diving headfirst into the end zone, trying to fight for extra yards, not sliding. Daniel Jones was fighting out there for every single yard. And you don't think Daniel Jones heard all the noise over the past 2 years? Last 3 years, get rid of this guy, he's a bust. Draft Anthony Richardson this year, draft Will Levis, draft Bryce Young, draft C.J. Stroud. Draft last year in the draft, everyone was saying the Giants should draft. It was Kenny Pickett and the other quarterback from Liberty, Malik Willis, everyone wanted. And look at how it worked out. Dave Gettleman took Daniel Jones 6th overall in 2019, could have taken Justin Herbert in 2020. Said, no, we'll take Andrew Thomas. I believe in Daniel Jones. Even in 2021, could have grabbed a quarterback. There were still guys in that draft in 2021 when we went with the 10th overall pick. We traded that to the Chicago Bears. It was the 10th overall pick. We traded to the Chicago Bears. And the Bears ended up taking, it was the 11th overall pick. We trade that 11th overall pick to the Bears, and they take Justin Fields. We could have taken Justin Fields. We said, no, we're going to go all in on DJ. Could have taken Mac Jones. We went all in on DJ, traded him for 11 to 20. Obviously, Kadarius Toney didn't work out. You get a 3rd or 4th round pick out of him this past year in that trade with Kansas City. I'm fine with that. Great move by Joe Shane. But we had multiple chances to draft quarterbacks like we could have this year, taking a guy like Kenny Pickett, taking a guy like Malik Willis. And the Giants believed in Daniel Jones. And honestly, no one deserves to win more than Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. And there's a million clips you could look up on YouTube. And 3 or 4 years now, I've listened to Colin Cowherd, Ryan Clark, Stephen A. Smith, Dan Orlovsky, every one of them coming at Daniel Jones. Dominique Foxworth, Marcus Spears, for years. Stephen A. Smith, for years coming at Daniel Jones, saying how bad of a draft pick that is. Nick Wright, one of the worst ones with it, saying how bad of a draft pick Daniel Jones was. He's a bust. He's a turnover machine. You can't trust him. All he does is fumble. Well, what's the narrative now? What is the narrative now? Daniel Jones, in his first playoff game, had one of the best postseason games in NFL history.
For a first game, absolutely.
For a first game, one of the best ever. I mean, probably up there with one of the best, but one of the best performances ever for a running quarterback.
No, he got it done. He seemed to make every play that was asked of him.
And the amount of disrespect I got going to BC, there's been so much noise about being a Daniel Jones fan over the years. The amount of times I've gone to arguments over Daniel Jones. Gone to so many arguments about liking Daniel Jones, just like I did for Wayne Gallman over the years. But everybody knows when I like a player, I stay with him. Russell Westbrook was struggling over the last year. I stayed with Russell Westbrook. Look at his last 5 games. He's turned it around. Russell Westbrook has turned around, averaging about 28-7, I believe, off the top of my head. 23-8-7 over his last 5 games. Everybody knows I stay with my guys. The Clippers right now have lost 7 of their last 9 games. I'm staying with the Clippers. I stayed with Daniel Jones. I stayed with Saquon Barkley through the thick and thin, and I said I would take them at 6th and 2nd overall all over again. Daniel Jones, I would take at 6 all over again, and I would take Saquon Barkley at 2 overall all over again. And look where we are right now. And everyone that was coming at me about it is now starting to give some respect to it because everybody knows Daniel Jones is a baller. It was never his fault. He's on his 4th offensive coordinator and 3rd head coach with one of the worst offensive lines in football in each of the last 2 seasons heading into this year. With all weapons being hurt. Saquon Barkley, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, all of those guys battling injuries. Wan'Dale Robinson this year. Then coming into this season, Kenny Golladay completely falling out of the rotation. Credit to Kenny Golladay on a great block for Saquon Barkley to get a first down.
Yeah, great block by Golladay.
Great block by Golladay. Credit to him. Came in, and that's one thing I criticized Golladay for in the last 8 to 10 to 12 games this season, that he never blocked. He never cared to give effort. That touchdown catch last week turned my entire perspective on Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay is a dog.
It inspired Golladay.
It did. Made a great play.
And Darius Slayton, too, who was out of the rotation coming into this year, really, with all the, we picked up Wan'Dale Robinson.
Richie
Shepard was
James
healthy,
got some
Richie
snaps.
James, so
Kadarius Toney.
Slayton staying with it and coming up with some production, especially today with 4 catches and almost 100 yards.
He could have been a guy that got cut. I was saying he was on the bubble before the season started. Look at him now.
We stuck with them, and so did the Giants, and he was very productive today. Just one drop.
So the narrative around Daniel Jones for years was he's a turnover machine. He's not a winner. One thing that me and you've always said, and we've stayed away from the narrative that he's a turnover machine because we knew the things around him, whether it was the offensive line, or the weapons always being hurt, or the play calling being abysmal, or the head coach being bad. We knew that everything around Daniel Jones set him up for failure. And John Barrett pointed that out last year in January after the season ended. Yeah, right. We've done everything to fail Daniel Jones, he said. We've done everything to fail Daniel Jones. Golden Tate, former Giants wide receiver, teammate of Daniel Jones, said in the offseason on NFL Network, Daniel Jones, the Giants never let him fully play free in the Joe Judge era. They never let him fully just rip the bait off, let him air it out. They never let him. And even though he's the best deep passer in 2020, they still didn't throw the ball deep at all in 2021. And even this year, we didn't throw the ball deep. But really, do we have the receiving core to let Daniel Jones air it out? We don't have Justin Jefferson. You don't have Cooper Kupp. You don't have Devontae Adams. Jamar Chase. You don't even have a Brandon Ayuk, who's like a receiver between wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. Right. You don't even have that. You have Isaiah Hodgins, who was on the practice squad of the Buffalo Bills. Until week 10, you pick him up, and he's your best receiver in the playoffs, 8 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown. Richie James was a 4th, 5th, or 6th receiver, depending on the week in the depth chart, of the San Francisco 49ers over the last few years, probably around the 5th receiver on that team. The Giants pick him up, give him a $1 to $2 million deal, and he's now your 3rd leading receiver in the playoffs, 4 catches for 31 yards. Darius Slayton, a guy that fell off the depth chart, almost got cut. 4 catches, 88 yards for Darius Slayton, who was a 5th-round pick in 2019. That 2019 draft had Dexter Lawrence, Daniel Jones, and Darius Slayton, and 3 of those guys are huge pieces on this team right now. Huge pieces on this team. Huge pieces.
I'm looking at Philadelphia. I just heard the game might be Saturday, but as far as the Eagles go, if Hurts doesn't run the ball like he's capable of it, as he did all year, was an MVP candidate until he got hurt, I think the Giants have a decent shot to control, if the defense can get to him. And they sack him a few times last week?
They hit him a couple times. They hit him a couple times last week for sure. You look at this Giants team, though, that 2019 draft, a lot of those pieces on that team from that draft in 2019, a lot of the pieces on this team right now were from that draft. Daniel Jones in the 1st round, 6th overall. Dexter Lawrence, 17th overall in the 1st round. O'Shane Ximines, 3rd round pick, 95th overall. Had a career year, even though it wasn't that great of a season stats-wise. I mean, he had the best year of his career this year, which proves coaching is important. Julian Love, 4th round pick in 2019, 108th overall.
Every year he gets better.
Wide receiver.
Makes more breakups.
Darius Slayton, 5th round pick. Julian Love, like you just said, plays with heart, hustle, and gives you everything he's got every single possession.
He gets better every year.
And almost had interceptions today that hit the ground. Right. Pretty close call, though.
No, he makes all the tackles.
And he played like a clipper on that play. Dive in, didn't care, just threw his body out there trying to make a play. Darius Slayton, 5th round pick, 171st overall in 2019. The 2019 draft had Darius Slayton, Julian Love, Daniel Jones, Dexter Lawrence, and then also Ximines didn't play today. I believe he's still hurt with an injury or maybe just fell out of the rotation, but he had a good year as well.
All starters that played really well this year.
Ximines wasn't starting consistently throughout the season because of injuries, but he did play when Ojulari went out. Ojulari did get hurt today with a quad injury. And then also the Giants lost Jason Pinnock in the 4th quarter with an abdominal injury. Did not look good, though, there.
No.
But Pinnock plays very well. He's good on special teams. He even stepped in and played some limited snaps on defense over the last 4 or 5 games. He plays pretty physical. I like the way he plays. But what a game for Daniel Jones. What a game for Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. At me, text me, come at me, any way you want. Daniel Jones is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. You can text me about it. We can have an argument. We can talk about it. Daniel Jones is a top 5 quarterback.
I think he'll make more believers of people next week because I think they can move the ball on Philadelphia. They got a great pass rush, as we said earlier today. They almost broke the sack record, but if Jones has
70
time,
sacks.
I think you can throw on even Slay and Bradbury. I wonder if the defense can show up enough to slow Philadelphia down. But if, again, like I said earlier, if Hurts can't run, then the Giants have a much better chance to slow that offense down.
The Giants scored 30-plus points 2 times now in the last 3 games. 2 times in the last 3 games.
After scoring, they didn't score 30 points in 43 games.
And they scored 30 points in 2-plus games. My prediction today was 31-24 New York Giants, it was? 31-27. Yeah, 31-27 was my prediction, New York Giants. Your prediction was 24-27. Give or take 3 or 4 points either way, and we got the prediction right. Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, put the Giants on their back today and just consistently made plays. Last week, Jalen Hurts was sacked 3 times. You were right. Had a 24.8 quarterback rating last week, which I said it was his passer rating was 65. His passer rating was 65 last week. Davis Webb had a 75.8 passer rating versus all of the Philadelphia Eagles' first-team defense.
So if he doesn't have his escapability to extend plays, you keep him in the pocket, we can probably sack him a few more times.
9 carries for 13 yards last week for Jalen Hurts. Nice. Finished the game 20 of 35 passing, 229 yards with a pick, 3 sacks, a 24.8 quarterback rating, which is abysmal, and a 65 passer rating. Davis Webb in that game was 23 of 40 with 168 yards passing, a touchdown, a 73.8 quarterback rating, which is much better than Jalen Hurts' 24.8, and a 75.8 passer rating, which is much better than Hurts' 65. And he also ran the ball 6 times for 41 yards and a touchdown, with that being Davis Webb going 6 of 41 and a touchdown in that game. So if Davis Webb can run for 6 carries of 41 yards with a touchdown, 6.8 yards a carry,
what can Daniel Jones do next week?
I am so psyched to see what that looks like next week.
Oh, I can't wait. I think we can score on Philadelphia. Our offense looks so good today. I know Philadelphia's got, like I said, a great pass rush. But I think you can throw the ball on them just like you can throw on Minnesota.
Nick McLeod last week had 1.5 sacks with a tackle for a loss, a pass defended, and 2 quarterback hits with 5 tackles. Imagine what Xavier McKinney's going to do blitzing around the edge with his or Julian left, either safety or cornerback blitz. You might send a Dory Jackson. Who knows? But the Giants' secondary last week would have 1.5 sacks coming from their secondary last week with their second stringers playing against the Eagles' first-team offense and defense. I mean, the Giants are just in a position right now where they're playing with house money, and that's the hardest team to play. Team that has no fear, playing with house money, and is already a year or 2 ahead of schedule.
Just pin their ears back and go.
And Daniel Jones did just that today. I know the Eagles are 14-3. They're a very good team. Obviously, won the NFC East, had a very good season, beat the Giants twice in the regular season, even though the last time they played them was 22-16. The Giants were in that game with second stringers last week, and this was the last game of the season, Week 18. But for some reason, I feel like the Giants win that game next week against the Eagles, which I know we're going to be in that game. I think we actually are going to win it. That was my prediction. In my prediction with the sports guru, I had the Giants winning that game. If the Giants go to Philadelphia next week and win, they're winning the Super Bowl.
Well, I hope you're right.
They're winning the Super Bowl because the momentum is shifting just like in 2007 and 2011. The Giants were underdogs on the road in all of those playoff games across those 2 years, and they had a quarterback that got doubted. I'll repeat it again. That stepped up big in big-time moments like Daniel Jones did today. Eli Manning did just that.
He played his best in the biggest games, Eli. I think they had one year they won like 10 straight road games, which is, I think it's still a record today. And he went right through the playoffs on the road.
And also, Eli Manning has the most passing yards in a single postseason in NFL history. And I know, obviously, he played one extra playoff game than most teams because he played a wild card game. But that's still impressive that no one's ever been able to beat that record. Because there's wild card teams every year. No one's ever been able to beat Eli Manning's passing record with the most passing yards in a single postseason in NFL history. The Buffalo Bills played today. So it proves that every single year there's going to be a team or two that's a really good team that doesn't get that 1 seed or the 2 seed, because heading into this year, it used to be the 1 and 2 seed gets the first round bye, so they play one less game. But now there's going to be more and more teams that play an extra game in the playoffs, and that record still is not broken.
No, I think Daniel Jones has as good as accuracy as Eli did, and he has obviously much better legs, so I think Jones only had like one bad pass today when he might have overthrew Hodgins on one pass.
Yeah, one pass, and then he also had a pass deflected to Richie James. It could have been a first down.
Right. That was, I mean, his passes were right on the money today.
Oh, BBs too. He's throwing rockets.
Zipping in there.
And I'm going to repeat it again. Daniel Jones, there's not many people that supported Daniel Jones to the degree that I did, you did, and then my uncle, who's come on the podcast a few times, the Sports Encyclopedia. The only people that supported Daniel Jones through the thick and thin was us three. Through the thick and thin. Do you know the amount of arguments I've gotten in, whether I'm at BC, whether I'm with my friends? Gotten in arguments, which most of my friends from home actually support Daniel Jones, so it's not really them. It's more of people at BC or just, people online, wherever it may be, that didn't think Daniel Jones was good, that didn't think Daniel Jones was a player, didn't think Daniel Jones is worth a 6th overall pick, didn't think Daniel Jones was even an average quarterback. Everyone thought he was below average. Then heading into this year, he's okay. When he started the season pretty good, he's all right. No one gave him credit. Even up until now. I mean, it's taking people until now to give Daniel Jones credit.
Even in the media. I mean, everybody makes mistakes with predictions. But Colin Cowherd had no faith in him.
Trade 10 first-round picks to Seattle.
Dan Orlovsky said, trade whatever you have to, 4 first-round picks, if they want a 5th for Deshaun Watson. Are you kidding me?
It was this. He said, if I'm the Giants, I'm getting on the phone, I'm trading Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and I'm taking 3 first-round picks, and I'm getting Deshaun Watson. If they want a 4th one, give them it.
How's that worked out for Denver, trading all those picks for Russell Wilson?
And giving him all that money.
I mean, it's only one case, but you can't jump the gun. You got to give these guys time to develop and put some weapons around them. And Jones never had it really until this year.
Daniel Jones is a product right now. What he's done this season, he's a product of competent head coaching, a great play caller, which Mike Kafka did unreal today, play calling. Unreal play calling.
His receivers were wide open most of the time.
And the Giants finally did something that was right. They got a head coach that was with the Buffalo Bills and obviously knows how to score points, and they got an offensive coordinator that was with the Chiefs as a quarterbacks coach with Patrick Mahomes. You got Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Those two quarterbacks were mentored by Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka, and the Giants get both those guys, and now it just proves.
Jones is right there, yeah.
Jones just needed some competency around him. He was not the reason for all the ineptitude that the Giants had over the last 5 years. Daniel Jones was not the reason the Giants were losing games. Yes, he had his turnovers. There wasn't an offensive line. There was no play calling. There were no weapons. Everyone was hurt. There was no success for that Giants team for any quarterback. No matter what quarterback you put in that Giants system over the last 3 or 4 years, no one was succeeding. And I was saying that on my podcast and my radio show last year. Put Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. I said Russell Wilson because Colin Cowherd said last year in April, if I'm the Giants, I'm taking 10 first-round picks, and I'm trading for Russell Wilson. I'm trading a first-round pick for every single year that Seattle would be giving the New York Giants Russell Wilson. So if Daniel Jones were to have been gone and the Giants had Russell Wilson for 10 seasons, we're giving Seattle 10 first-round picks. Imagine if we made that trade. And you can't even trade 10 first-round picks. Pretty sure there's a limit, but it doesn't matter. The sake of the argument is this. The Giants trusted in Daniel Jones, and he's earned himself. I would give him right here. Right now, I would give him, I said earlier, 4 years, $130 million. I would give him that right now.
Wow. I hope the Giants take good care of him. But I hope they lock him up, for a good number of years and, maybe around $30 million a year. I mean, it's a big raise, but he certainly looks like he's the quarterback of the future that can definitely take us deep in the playoffs.
Well, if you look at it right here, the highest quarterback hits in the NFL, all of them being quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, $54,993,000. Dak Prescott, $49 million. Patrick Mahomes, $46 million. Josh Allen, $39 million. Ryan Tannehill, $36 million. Kirk Cousins, $36 million. Then 7th is Larry Tunsil, left tackle for Houston. 8th, Matt Ryan, $35 million. Tom Brady, 9th, $35 million. Derek Carr, $35 million. Wow. Aaron Rodgers, $31 million. That's just a total cap hit. Obviously, there's ways to maneuver around the cap. So let me look at total cash here, and we're going to break down who's getting the most. Total cash, Aaron Rodgers, number one, $59,515,000. Deshaun Watson, $46 million. Patrick Mahomes, $40 million. Kyler Murray, $39 million. Derek Carr, $33 million. Dak Prescott, $31 million. Kirk Cousins, $30 million. Matt Ryan, $29 million. And then Josh Allen, 10th, right after Aaron Donald, who's 9th with $28.5 million, is 10th. Josh Allen getting $28 million with Russell Wilson. And Matt Stafford getting $27.5 million. And Ryan Tannehill being 13th with $27 million. So that's based on total cash. Base salaries, really quick. Deshaun Watson, $46 million. Derek Carr, $32.9 million. Dak Prescott, $31 million. Josh Allen, $27.5 million. And Ryan Tannehill, $27 million. This is all based off 2023 cap hits. So this is for next season. Okay. If you look at 2022, it's a little bit different. A little bit different for 2022, but I'm just basing it off of next season because Daniel Jones is going to be free agent after this year. So we're looking at what the cost would be in the market in 2023. And it looks like it'd be around $33 million, $30 million to $33 million if you were to tag Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones is going to get his payday. You look at total cash in 2022, so for the season we are in right now, Matt Stafford, $61.5 million. Russell Wilson, $57 million. Josh Allen, $46,961,000. Deshaun Watson, 4th, $45 million. Aaron Rodgers, $42 million in 5th. Kirk Cousins, $40 million. Quentin Nelson, 7th, a guard for the Colts, getting $35 million. Aaron Donald, 8th, defensive tackle on the Rams, get $31 million. And the rest are cornerbacks and receivers out of the top 10, with Kyler Murray being 11th, with Tom Brady getting $30 million apiece in total cash this year in 2022. But you look at that base salaries, I mean, Daniel Jones is deserving of $30 million. I just named all of those guys, and Daniel Jones, I would take over just about every one of them except, I don't know, Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence. Like I said, neither one of those guys, whether Burrow and Lawrence, neither one's been paid yet. Obviously, Josh Allen's had his payday, and so has Patrick Mahomes. But we'll see what Daniel Jones' contract is. But if Deshaun Watson's getting $45 million in total cash this year, and Aaron Rodgers get 42, and Cousins is getting 40, and Russell Wilson's getting 57, and Matt Stafford's getting 61, Daniel Jones is deserving of $40 million. He's deserving of $40 million. Would you agree with me?
I hope so. I just want him to lock him up. I hope he gets as much money as he can, but I want the Giants to lock him up so he's our quarterback, for the next 10 years at least.
He could get 3 years, $120 million, maybe at $40 million a year. But I think he's probably going to get – that might be too heavy. Derek Carr did get 3 years, a 3-year deal in the offseason. Obviously, now it didn't work out for Las Vegas. But if you get Daniel Jones' contract, it's probably going to be around, I would guess right now, 4 years, $140 million. That's just a guess right now. But I would give Daniel Jones whatever he wanted. I would give Daniel Jones whatever he wanted. $140 million over 4 years is $35 million a year. $35 million over 4 years. Maybe it's a 3-year deal with a 4th-year option for a team option. So if the Giants were to not think Daniel Jones was worth it after the 3rd year, you can rip him up a little bit easier than Denver could with Russell Wilson, or the Rams could with Matt Stafford, or the Browns could do with Deshaun Watson. Even though Matt Stafford, I believe they picked up his option for next season, the Rams. But
I think he's just coming into his prime. I would hope they could lock him up for like I said, 7 year minimum. I don't know what the numbers are going to shake out at, but
it could be.
I want him locked up.
It could be like a 4-year deal with 2 or 3 years of options at the end of it, which that's a team-friendly deal because not many players are going to say, I'll take 4-year deal being guaranteed with 3 years after that being team options because you're not getting anything guaranteed. There's a lot at stake there, and obviously you have to stay healthy to get that money. But Daniel Jones, considering all those quarterbacks getting that much money, and Daniel Jones being a top 5 to 6 quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion, I'd put him probably at 5 right now. I think Daniel Jones is worth $35 million. I do. 4 years, 140, 4 years, 130, whatever it may be. I said around week 12, I told my friend Dan from BC I'd give him 3 years, $90 million at that moment around week 10 or 11 or 12. I think he's earned $35 million. The Giants won their first playoff game since 2012, and Daniel Jones had the best game of his career. Best game of his career.
He's earned a very good raise and hopefully a contract that will keep him in a Giants uniform for a lot of years ahead.
So for that Eagles game next week, I'll do a preview probably midweek on the radio. But anything else you want to say about that Eagles team, that Giants game? We're obviously rolling now. The team's got their first playoff win since 2012. Momentum shifting our way. I said this yesterday. If the Giants beat the Eagles next week, which that was my prediction, they could win the Super Bowl. They legitimately could win the Super Bowl.
Well, they got weapons, as we saw with their offense today. I think they punted once till like the fourth, maybe the fourth once quarter, in the once, and then late in the third maybe. So I think they can move the ball on Philly. You got to protect Jones because Philly's blitz happy. Like Minnesota, I think Philadelphia will probably blitz more, and I know they got good cornerbacks. But Jones was pinpoint accurate today. Barkley was huge, so I think they can move the ball. And if Hurts doesn't have his, extending of plays,
running the ball, yep.
I think
they're still banged up.
Yeah, I think the Giants can get to Philadelphia's offense because their wideouts are dangerous.
A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith both are really good.
Both game breakers, and that guy, Boston Scott?
Always kills the Giants. 8 games against the Giants in his career, 10 touchdowns.
I mean, he has got no touchdowns against anybody else but us. So the Giants will have to game plan this week. Have taken away Philadelphia's biggest weapons, and it's probably throwing the ball to those guys Joey just mentioned. So, but if you got AJ to lock up one of them, that's half the battle right there.
Absolutely. And the Giants actually scored on their first 3 offensive drives in this game. Touchdown, field goal. Then right at the end of the half, they tried a couple plays and then ended up just taking a knee and nailing it out in the first half. Then they went on a touchdown the first drive of the second half.
Which was huge.
Then their first punt came in the third quarter, then a touchdown the next drive, then a punt, and then ended the game taking knees. So the Giants punted really on 2 drives, and they came in the second half. And they scored touchdowns on 1, 2, 3, 4 drives. 4 drives, the Giants had touchdowns.
Very impressive, yeah. You don't want to settle for field goals.
You need to score in the red zone. That's what we're doing better in. We're playing better defense in the red zone, and we're scoring in the red zone.
Much better play in the red zone offensively and defensively.
So we'll do a preview during the week. That wraps up this episode. What a huge win for Daniel Jones. And once again, going to give credit right here to Paul from Southie. He was the biggest Daniel Jones believer since day one, and he turned me into a believer beginning of that first season. After the first few games, we saw that he was a player. Obviously, that team wasn't going to win the Super Bowl, but we saw some good plays out of Daniel Jones, knowing, okay, there's not much around Daniel Jones here. And so our hope that season was, let's just see if Daniel Jones is a player, right? Because we knew we were going to win the Super Bowl that season, and we saw just that in 2019.
No, but every year, we talked about the Bengals last year. 2 years before their Super Bowl run last year, they had 2 wins. So maybe the Giants are this year's Cincinnati Bengals.
And both teams, I believe, at one point had 4-win seasons. Following that 4-win season, both teams had the 5th overall pick in the season after that 4-win season. So the Bengals won 4 games in 2020. Joe Burrow's rookie year, they won 4 games in 2020. The 5th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft took Jamar Chase out of LSU. They go to the Super Bowl in the 2021 regular season, 2022 Super Bowl. So that same season, they had the 5th overall pick. In that offseason, they go to the Super Bowl. The Giants in 2021 last season had 4 wins, were 4-13. Had the 5th overall pick. Following that, in the 2022 NFL Draft, took Kayvon Thibodeau 5th overall. Obviously, Evan Neal as well, 7th overall. And this year made the playoffs, just like the Bengals made the jump from 4 wins and the 5th overall pick. In 1 year, made the jump to going to the playoffs and going to the Super Bowl last year. The Bengals obviously lost in the Super Bowl. The Giants this year went from 4 wins last year with the 5th overall pick, and they've already got 1 playoff win down. They could be this year's Bengals.
I'm hoping. Right to the Super Bowl.
And Joe Burrow got a lot of respect, obviously, last season, taking that team that didn't really have too much talent around him to the Super Bowl and didn't have high expectations. And Daniel Jones could be doing the same.
I think it was 3 road wins that Cincinnati got last year, too, right?
They went on a run. Right. Regardless, making the Super Bowl is huge.
There's a lot of moxie if you can win on the road.
Anyways, Paul, thank you so much for coming on. Means a lot. Always a pleasure talking sports with you. What a win for the Giants and what a weekend for football.
We'll talk during the week and we'll get ready for Philadelphia.
Thank you, Paul, as always. Much appreciated. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to this. As always, I appreciate it. Go Giants, and I hope you guys have a good one. Thank you all, and thank you all for the support. I appreciate it.